Hey guys, I'm doing a mapping tutorial today, so make sure to watch, like, subscribe, and tell me what you think. I'm going to start off by marking my caliper with that Sharpie brow pencil that you see in the photo, and I use the golden ratio to measure while I'm mapping. So the first line is directly down the middle of the nose, and then at the fold of the nostril, I mark the starting points of the brow. I make sure that I measure both sides when I'm working so that the starting points are at the same position, and typically for the average person is 1 centimeter if you're measuring from the middle part of the brow on both sides. So 2 centimeters across so that the brows are not too far apart and not too close, but definitely go off your client's natural face structure. Sometimes it'll be different. And then for the arch, it is the outer part of the iris and then the outer part of the nostril going diagonal through the eye to mark where the tail is. And you never want the tail to drag down. You want to keep it tilted upward so that it does not drag your client's face downward. While making the measurements for the golden ratio, I do like to check my work as I go along. So if I need to make any corrections, I could do that before moving on to the next step. So I measure both sides to make sure that they are the same. But when you set up your client, if you need to make any corrections, go off your own visual eyesight rather than the measurements, because not every face is perfectly symmetrical. Once these marks are made, I grab my brow thread and I mark the bottom of the brow where the brow starts and then the top. Next, I'm going to mark the top outer parts of the brow, so I use that middle line from the nostril to help guide me. Using the natural growth of their client's hair is really helpful, but if they don't have any hair, that middle line going diagonally across meeting at the center is going to help get them to be even. I'm going to mark that middle line a little higher so I can mark the tails of the brow. When I'm marking the skin with the thread, I like to pull in one direction so it makes a nice fine line on the skin. Once you are done marking the outer part of the tail, you're going to move back down to the bottom portion of the brow. You want the bottom portion to be parallel to that top line of the brow, and you don't want it to be too pointed, so we're going to round everything off with our brow Sharpie pencil once our outline is complete. Then you're going to connect that point to the end of our tail. Next, you're going to grab your Sharpie pencil. You're going to pull the skin up so you can have a nice, clean, and flat canvas, and you're just outlining the mapping that we just completed. To get a nice clean line, your pencil has to be really sharp, and I have a video up on our YouTube on how to sharpen your pencil. You want the lines to be nice and thin, so grab a micro swab and clean up any areas to thin out the lines so that your line is consistent and clean. I find it easier to outline my brow mapping while sitting on my dominant side, so I'm right-handed, so I sit on the right-hand side of my chair when outlining the bottom portion of the brows. When brow mapping, you always want to make sure you sit up your client to see if there's any changes that you need to make. I always like to clean up the area as nice as possible so it just shows the outline portion of the brow. Always let your client know when microblading that the microbladed strokes are going inside this outline. And for ombre brows, this is the outline you're using with your machine. I made sure to sit up my client and make any changes, but here was the ending result. Her brows are a lot fuller and even, and she was really excited for the procedure. So here's the before again of how my client's brows looked before mapping, and then this was after the procedure. They look so pretty. We were so happy with these results.